It's that time of the year for this to start happening. So I wanted to do a quick overview of Arne's hearse. And I did have it on the dyno. We took it down there. We did a quick shakedown. I knew there would be problems similar to my Mustang. So I like to just go to the dyno and find them. So like there's water leaks and oil leaks, and I have problems with my catch can vent on my Mustang, but we were able to resolve them all and move on quickly. And then I came home, know exactly what I need to do, blah, blah, blah. So it's easy for me because I can just go there at 3 in the morning and mess with the car and come home. Not everybody, most people cannot do that at all, obviously. So the thing has had an on-off misfire, which I thought I solved, but then it came back. I've tried I replaced the wires. I replaced the coils. I swapped on, this has coils mounted down below, and then they come up through. And I moved them to top rack ones that I had laying around. It does the same thing, and it's intermittent, which is kind of annoying. I'm like, well, maybe I can figure this out on the dyno. So, roll into it in and out a bunch of times. It would miss bad or miss less, and I'm like, well, I need to just check all my sensors and everything anyway. My back pressure was a little shaky, so I built a canister for that. If I remember, maybe I can toss some photos of it in here. So I made a neat little fuel filter canister, and I'd rather wait. I'll probably wait till it works, till there's a good result before I show you. I don't want to be like, this is what I built and it's awful also. So the car I had pump gas in it. It was pretty full with pump when we got it. So I did a bunch of driving and everything else until the gas was very low, and then I took it to the dyno and made these hits on pump, and it had a significant miss. And you can hear it in the videos. You can see puffs coming out of the wastegate dump and whatever else. So hit it a bunch of times, breaking up bad, ended up making like 650 wheel anyway. And then the problem would get worse when it would get hot. So that was all part of the equation there also. I'm like, man, it still has to be whatever. So one of the only things I did do on this car is I combined the cylinder head grounds, which I didn't think would be an issue, but I have to fix that now to know that it's not an issue. So when I peeled the harness back, I took the ground from that side because it's harder to get back here. It's much easier to get to that back cylinder head. So I took the two cylinder head grounds and combined them into the driver's side. So the passenger side one isn't there, it's over there. And I was like, well, it's to the cylinder head. I can't imagine this would be a problem, but now I have a misfire. But the silly thing about that is this had a misfire on the stock ECU when I drove it here before I put the Holly in it. So I'm like, man, maybe it's whatever. Now it's two of them. So I was trying to struggle through it. I have NGK BR7 EFs on the way. And I'm going to move the coil grounds and try to drive it again out here on the street. Drive it around a bunch of times. So the gasoline's out of it. It made 650 wheel with the ugliest dyno chart you have ever seen. It was misfiring so bad, but I wanted to get data. One of the big things was fuel pressure was dropping off badly at 650 wheel already. So I was like, I got to get these pumps sorted. So the next day, my wife took it out to take one of her friend's kids for a drive because they're obsessed with hearses, and this is like the coolest. I mean, he would have been happy with any hearse, even if it was like a dirty old one, and he got to drive in like arguably one of the coolest hearses ever. So she took him for a drive. She filled up. I asked her to fill up on E85, so this would have ethanol, and then I would fix the pumps. It would be a major incentive for me to figure out and fix the pumps. The big one there was this is using a brushless setup. Arne was co-founder of AMS Performance. They built this like 15 years ago. It actually has, I laughed when I saw all this because I'm just now understanding things with this capability, and they had it. They knew it 15 years ago or before that because they implemented it all in this car. But they have two brushless fuel pumps, and they have twin hobby motor ESCs, two 50 amp ESCs for like a remote control car or whatever else, but 50 amperes. So they have those hooked up. Then they have an Arduino that someone wrote software for in AMS or whatever, and it had a pressure transducer, like an AEM 50-pound one. And what it would do is it would produce, as pressure went up, it would produce more signal to run the pumps hotter. And then, obviously they would come down to a much lower point for average driving. So it took me a little bit to figure it out, trying to directly drive it with the Holly, until I realized the Arduino, not happy, whatever. I ended up calling a hobby motor place, and I was like, dude, what does it use to control the speed of the ESC? Is it duty cycle, PWM, on, off? Like, what can I do? Why is nothing working? And he said it's millisecond based. And I was like, oh, because Holly, you can tell it to output in milliseconds. And then he was like, if it's a forward drive motor only, it's 1 millisecond to 2. So 1.1 milliseconds is 10% of the potential power, and then 2 milliseconds is wide open, as much as the pump can flow. It's full power from the ESC. And then what he also told me is 50 hertz is what makes them happy. And he said if it's a motor with reverse, your neutral point is 1.5. So that's neutral, and then below 1.5 is reverse, and above 1.5 is forward. So 1.5 to 2 is the forward speeds, and then 1.4 and lower is, 1.0 is full reverse. So I wrote a simple table. I had already built the table to be boost and throttle percentage, just so I could do pedal testing right when I key it on. I set the fuel pump prime a lot longer. So then after I finally got all that info, I changed the tune file when I was sitting somewhere, and then later in the day I was able to load the tune file and then roll in and out of the throttle, and I heard ree or ree, you can hear the pump really taking off, or pumps. So I split the wiring, I put a DT connector, and I put it all back to the original wiring that they had done for the speed controllers. So I'm going to test that out next with ethanol. Got to get the misfire sorted. The wiring is extremely poor looking because I have it laying out so I can figure out and connect all these things. And then once that's done, there's a bunch that's there that's not being used at all anymore, but it's connected to key on and fuses and whatever. So as I keep moving farther down the road here, that's there in case I want key on power sources. So after all of that, there's messages. Anyway, after all of that, also what I did is I have a 4-port acting as the single solenoid with dome targeting, and it's working great. I've probably done it on 3 cars recently. I decided to try it on this. Works fantastic. That's how dome is supposed to work. You request an amount of dome, and then boom, boom. So you get it. But yeah, I'm going to go over some other stuff, but I'll be back real quick. Welcome back to the Cricket Show. Man, look at this. Look at how long. I got to get this cut. Look at this. I got it all going on here. Yes, so hopefully very soon this is ready to get on the dyno again with no misfires, with ethanol, and we can give it all the beans. The other thing is it had a small oil leak, and ended up being the one turbo fitting was like just barely loose. And what it is it's a crush ring. So the ring wasn't crushed all the way. So I took it all apart. Everything looked okay. I tightened it, and it's totally fine now. So that's a good thing. We have a water fitting down underneath. On the Holly water pump, there's top and bottom ones. And like on mine, I did the top for the heater core, and I did my surge tank, expansion tank, degas tank, whatever you want to call it, is coming out of the bottom of the thermostat housing there and going up in, and it's leaking out of the plug or the other thing. Mine's leaking too, and his is leaking too. So maybe it's like the plug isn't the right size or something. They give you these gigantic 3/4 pipe thread plugs. Both are leaking, so that's silly. So those 2 leaks, I got to do the leak on mine. Also, the Holly water pump kit has like a 210 degree thermostat. It's very high. and I would like to knock the temperatures well below 210 if I want to, or if we desire. So I bought a thermostat for it, so I got to dump that whole thing, that area to put a thermostat in anyway. So it'll be pretty easy to redo all that water pump stuff because all the water will be out of it. And it's like the tiniest bit of coolant and mostly water, because this is what happens. You never do coolant first. That's such a rookie move. It's never all coolant because you're going to be dumping it like 3 times. Wait till it's done, and then you can drain some and then dump in some coolant. They're very talkative today. They don't really bother me at all anymore. Actually, my son and I have started keeping them in the other corner of the garage and feeding them and everything. And when they're alone, they make a totally different noise than this one. There's some facts for you, some cricket facts. Yeah, they're all over. They always just crawl in here and hang out. I guess they're my friends now. But yeah, really getting somewhere with this, and I'm happy with it. I'm always annoyed. Like, I can always find something that needs to be better. But realistically, the whole setup has changed. I changed 90% of the wiring. I put a Holly in it. Redid everything in the front of the engine bay. The other thing I want to do is I want to pull it out and check and show you guys sometime. What I did is I built the original sensor squid, and then I built a secondary harness sensor squid just for the 3 pressure sensors. There's coolant pressure, back pressure, and dome pressure all in that front end. And I wired them to their own separate 6-pin DT connector because I was having so much trouble with it. I think I said this in another video, I'm sorry. But I had all different color TPS sensors and I made a separate sub. I think I did say this in the other video. But yeah, all of that, and I want to stop talking there because I think I went over everything and I'm going over stuff twice. If you have any questions about the hearse, let me know. I have a little bit of that ground wire moving, and I want to do plugs. And the aforementioned things, I have them written down on the whiteboard in there. I want to do that. I want to drive it around. The target boost is working amazing. I did a long 2nd gear pull, which I think I'll throw into after the dyno pulls. I rolled into it very gently in 2nd because I found sometimes it wouldn't miss. And yeah, like the dyno logs, RPM and everything looks terrible. And then the roll-in on the street where I just roll the pedal down forever, and it's like 20 to 100 miles an hour. It didn't burp or fart or hiccup at all, and the dome was dead on. The target pressure was working, and it's a 4-port, so it's working really well. I'm impressed. So it has all of that. All of that's working, blah, blah, blah. So it's just annoying that it sometimes gets this misfire. So yeah, all those little things. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'll keep putting out the updates on it. The exhaust on the Mustang is almost done, so we can put that on the dyno and get annoyed with it very shortly. All right, thanks, bye.